Those shopping for a mid-priced SUV for going off-road usually have three choices. One is a Jeep Wrangler. The advantage here is the low starting price of $34,000 and the ability to modify it with all kinds of options after the fact. Disadvantage, it's a Stellantis product. Reliability isn't its strong suit. I shouldn't say that. Then from Ford we have the Bronco, newly released, but while it drives a lot better than the Wrangler, the jury's still out on this one. Then we have something that's always been one of my personal favorites, the Toyota 4Runner. Here's the 2021 I tested some years ago. Very, very rugged vehicle, super reliable, good for 300,000 miles easy, at least they were then. Bad news, they guzzled gas like a V8, and it was time for them to get a new engine. So here we have the 2025 4Runner with a new engine, new transmission, and a claimed base price of $41,270. Lots of luck finding one on the lot at that low price, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. Here's the price sheet of the one they sent me. A four-wheel drive limited. Limited is translation for more money. Nice to see they're still made in Japan, though, instead of the Mexican plant. No offense, Mexico, but I like my Japanese vehicles made in Japan with Japanese parts by Japanese workers. And a bit more than $41,000, starting at $50,400. Look at all these options. Automatic power running boards. Tailgate LED light. Third row seating, $1,330. Blah, blah, blah. Well, you can read this. But they're charging for a cargo mat, $130 for a cargo mat. Come on, guys. Seriously? And, of course, got to pay shipping. Just under $63,000. Ooh. The old 4Runner is rated 16 to 19 mpg. The new one here, 20 to 24 mpg. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Let's go look at the vehicle. So here it is, and it's raining outside, so we got to hide under this tree. Styling looks a lot like the older model. Nothing radical here. More of a squared off front. For the 61 grand, I would expect some off-road tires. These are mixed terrain tires, but they are Dunlops, so that's a good brand. No cheapies here, so why complain? There's no spare tire under the floor like a crossover. Instead, if you get a flat, you have to crawl underneath to find the fifth tire. Just like a pickup truck. Plan on getting dirty. And here we have the third row seats we paid lots of money for, but unfortunately we can't pull them up because the cargo mat bar is in the way. So you'd have the cargo mat bar, third row seats. You can't have both. And anytime we get a vehicle, we take the headlights out in the dark and say they perform. That's a separate video we posted on YouTube. We'll have a link for that. And in this video, you're not missing anything. 2 videos for the price of 1. If you're going to buy a 4Runner, it's a good idea to know the history of the engines and what you could have had and what's available now. For a long time, the engine underneath was a 4-liter 6-cylinder, 270 horsepower, hooked to a 5-speed automatic transmission, fuel economy 16 to 19 mpg, which by today's standards is very poor. There are many V8s that can do better than that. But many owners were happy anyway because the engine and transmission setup was bulletproof. 300,000 miles was nothing unusual. Then Toyota came out with a second generation engine, a 3.5 liter, 278 horsepower, hooked to a new 6-speed automatic transmission, fuel economy bumped up to 18 to 23 mpg. But for some reason, Toyota would not put it in the 4Runner. They just kept it in the Toyota truck and kept the old 4-liter. Don't know why, just the way they did it. Now all the V6s are gone. This new 2.4-liter turbo, 278 horsepower, hooked to an 8-speed automatic transmission. 4-wheel drive fuel economy is listed higher at 20 to 24 mpg. I've driven quite a few of these motors and never got that much, but we'll see if we can do that on this particular model. There's also a hybrid available, more horsepower, but that's a totally separate video. We won't spend a lot of time talking about that in this video. So before we take this on the road, rack up about 300 or 400 miles to test the real fuel economy, let's take a look at the cabin. New cabin isn't very fancy, but definitely an improvement over the previous model, which is pretty bare and stark. I'm glad to see they left the climate control separate from the info screen. Lots of knobs and buttons, the way it should be. Thank you, Toyota. A large info screen. Down here, control knobs for your four-wheel drive low, four-wheel drive high. Tow haul and the drive mode. You choose of Eco, Comfort, Normal, Sport S, Sport Plus, and Custom. Most of our driving will be in Normal. Although in the Custom I put the steering in Sport mode because I find it to be too sloppy and loose in Normal mode. We do have a tire pressure monitor. Something you really need if you're going off-road. When I don't like, every time you turn off the safety nannies, you get all these warnings every single time you turn on the vehicle. You have to press the button to get rid of it. I don't want to see that. Unfortunately, got no choice. Nice camera system. This, of course, is optional. And we're paying the 62 grand for the deluxe model. The newer 4Runner seems to have a more comfortable ride than the older one. Brake pedal feels a bit softer than what I would like, but nothing to complain about. Turning radius is tight enough. Since this 4-cylinder turbo puts out around the same basic horsepower as the two V6s that have been discontinued, 0-60 time isn't much quicker, even if it is quicker. However, because of the very low torque rating, thanks to the turbocharger, maximum torque comes out around 1400 RPM, so this is a lot more pleasant to drive in daily commuting, has more pickup at lower speeds. And of course, going to an 8-speed automatic over the previous 5-speed automatic helps too. So I hate to say it, guys, but the performance of the 4-cylinder beats the 6-cylinder. Now the question is the fuel economy better? It is on paper, but in the real world, 4-cylinders have to work hard pulling all this weight, and, well, we'll find out. I took this on a short highway trip. Got 23 miles to the gallon, but because it was a Sunday and traffic was slow, we were doing around 65, 70 miles per hour, which is not normal highway driving as far as I'm concerned. All my highway tests are done at 75 miles per hour minimum, so I think we need to go out and do another highway test again. And today in city driving, after resetting the computer, 16.5 mpg. We'll reset it and do another drive tomorrow to take it out on the freeway. And 23 miles of city commuting, 16.7 mpg. Outside temperature is over 100 degrees, if that means anything. We're going to reset the mileage computer and do a highway trip. Overall, this 4Runner is a comfortable highway cruiser. However, I find the steering to be a bit too loose and sloppy for my taste, even if it's in a sport mode. It takes some getting used to, but that's still more precise when you get a Jeep Wrangler, if that helps. Just a note, all of the Tacoma trucks I've driven with this engine got 21 miles to the gallon on this highway trip in previous adventures. That includes the upgraded hybrid version. So it'll be interesting to see if I do better than 21 on this particular vehicle. We're going to find out soon because this trip is coming to an end in another 15-20 miles. By comparison, the older Tacomas with the V6 got the same mileage at 21 mpg. In the older 6-cylinder used in the previous 4Runner, got 19 on the same road. So 19, 21, and 21 are the numbers we'll be comparing at, for those who take note of such things. Okay, the trip is over. And just a reminder, the claimed MPG on the highway is 25 miles to the gallon. Although I've never gotten that off this engine. Let's pull over and see what the numbers say. 21.3 MPG, pretty much what I got off the Tacoma trucks using this engine, as well as the hybrid versions using Tacomas and the Land Cruiser. So after we get driving, here are some questions I would ask myself. Does this perform better than the previous 4Runner? Yes, it's quicker, smoother, quieter. No doubt about that. Is the fuel economy better than the old 4.0-liter six-cylinder? Yes, it is. But not much better than the 3.5-liter V6 that was in the previous Toyota. And I think a lot of the improvements in the economy here has more to do with the 8-speed automatic transmission that does the 4-cylinder motor, in my opinion. I might add, I had a Land Rover Defender recently with a 395 horsepower 6-cylinder. Got 18 to 23 MPG. It was a lot more powerful and bigger than this, so I'm not really impressed with fuel economy numbers, but they are better than the old model, so that is what we wanted after all. Next up, is the 4Runner more reliable than the old model? We don't know yet. It's new, so we'll take a couple years to find out. However, I do think it's going to be more reliable than the current Jeep and Bronco offerings, from what I've seen from the recalls, so I think we're still ahead on the new model. As far as value goes, well, if we could find one of these near the $41,000, $42,000 price advertised, yeah, but all the ones I'm seeing in the dealer's lot are in the $60,000 bracket, and I can't afford that. Don't know about you. Shop around for your best deal. Now, if you want to see our headlight test and night drive, here's the link coming up. Click and watch. You might as well. You're already here.